The AP poll might not believe in the Tar Heels, but you know what? The selection committee does, and that's all that matters.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. I want to thank you for joining us to get your first listen or watch every single day. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers. Join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, folks, thanks again for putting up with my voice yesterday. It's getting slightly better today, but still, coming back up. So thanks again for your patience and grace with that. AP poll came out on Monday, as it always did. Carolina falls to number 10. So that's where we're at there. It is Tuesday, and that means I've got Trivia Tuesday for you. I'll ask a question. We'll answer it towards the end of the show. Here it is. Elliot Cadeau is now up to 104 assists in his freshman year. So my question for you is this. 4 Tar Heel freshmen have eclipsed 200 assists in their freshman season. Who are they? Again, we'll answer that at the end of the show. So here's where we're going to go first today. And by the way, after that, we're going to look at some updates to the ACC schedule and ACC tournament for next season, and then talk a little bit about some potential renovations or a new arena for basketball. But where I want to go first is looking into the NCAA Selection Committee's top 16 reveal that happened on Saturday morning. This is something the tournament committee has been doing now for the past several years, just to kind of give us a glimpse into a look at where things stand today as of mid-February. Now, a lot of people, because of Carolina's kind of streak or skid, I guess, of going 2-3 in the last 5 games, we're starting to drop Carolina either to a lower 2 seed or even into a 3 seed. But you saw it just like I did on Saturday. This reveal comes out, and the Tar Heels are not only a 2 seed, they are the top 2 seed, 5th overall in the bracket reveal behind the 4 1 seeds. Here's why I want to talk about this. What a great reminder to us of how things are really still in a good place, despite the 2-3 skid Carolina had just gone through. You heard me talk about it multiple times last week, that if Carolina could just endure that stretch and then really do a good job in the final 6 games of the regular season, that 5-game stretch is just a blip. What the selection committee showed by their placement of the Tar Heels is validation of what I've been saying, that while it's hard for us sometimes as people in on this game after game after game of it, of saying, oh man, things are in a really bad place now because of what's just happened, the selection committee really is honed in. They're zoomed out, I guess I should say, looking at the totality of the season and the resume and the schedule, not just what's happened. They do a lot better job than you and I do at times of them seeing the forest, where we're just looking at the trees. So this is an encouraging thing. Again, the committee is looking at the entirety of the body of work, even while we as fans sometimes struggle to see that. And so, and keep in mind, that result was even before Carolina's victory over Virginia Tech on Saturday. The last result they had to work with was the loss at Syracuse. So Carolina is in a great spot, and then they go out and beat Virginia Tech to make it even better. So be encouraged is my takeaway from that. Be encouraged by what the selection committee showed us on Saturday, because what they think about the Tar Heels is infinitely more important than anyone else. More important than the AP poll, where the Tar Heels, as I just said, are 10th. More important than KenPom or Torvik or anything else. Those are helpful metrics to give us an idea. But ultimately, what the committee decides the Tar Heels is what matters. Their placement is all that matters. What they reveal on Selection Sunday is all that ultimately matters. They clearly believe in what the Tar Heels have done. And so now the Tar Heels just have to keep doing those things, which they did, getting that victory over Virginia Tech. And now, as we've talked about, you get this week of rest and prep, and then the 5-game closing stretch to the finish line. That also means I think a lot of Tar Heels fans have probably thought, oh boy, a 1 seed is now out of reach. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Now, barring an epic collapse, UConn and Purdue are basically locked in to the 1 seed line. The same is probably true for Houston. They've only lost 3 games, although I should say I'm recording this before they host Iowa State on Monday night, so anything could happen there. But as a 1 seed is very much on the table, but it's probably only the 4th 1 seed. And that means overcoming all those other teams that were around the Tar Heels in the bracket reveal. That'd be Arizona, Tennessee, Marquette, Kansas, Alabama, maybe even like Baylor or Iowa State, Duke, maybe Auburn. Those are some of the other teams that are going to be vying for that. But hear me say, the 4th number 1 is very much open and very much on the table. So what does Carolina do now? Well, as I said, it's time to recover. It's time to rest, and it's time to prep for Virginia next Saturday, and then the quick turnaround to Miami next Monday. You heard me say it multiple times last week about the toll that the travel schedule, that the playing 2 games a week, literally every week of calendar year 24 has taken on Carolina. But now you don't just have to take my word for it. Hear it from some of the players. Tar Heel Illustrated put out an article on Monday, or I think it was Monday, where multiple players talked about this. Listen to this from RJ Davis. Quote, "This is a good time for us just to get our legs, some rest, and bodies recovered. We've been playing games nonstop and traveling and coming back home and traveling again. So I definitely can see fatigue playing a role a little bit. So I think this break will be huge for us." End quote. Armando Bacot, quote, "Perfect time. I need it. It's been a tough stretch, and it's been like when you're in the position we're in at the top of the ACC, everywhere you go, it's electric, it's crazy, it's a lot of fun, and some of the perks of going to a school like UNC. We get everyone's shot. Every game is like the national championship," end quote. How about Cormac Ryan? Quote, "I think it's great," meaning the break. "It gives us a chance to get our bodies right, to address some things in practice, to really tighten up and get ready for a very important stretch of the season," end quote. I mean, you hear it from 3 veteran ACC basketball players how important this week is ahead of the 5 final games of the regular season. So, Coach Davis has a great plan in place for the guys to prep for Saturday in Charlottesville, and then they'll be ready for Miami on Monday in an NCAA tournament like turnaround. But you heard Cormac Ryan at the end of that say as well, get ready for a very important stretch of the season. Because let me remind you, my goal for this closing 6-game stretch that started with Virginia Tech was to go 5-1, win the 4 home games, and go 1-1 in the 2 road games. Well, so far so good. Carolina started off with a 15-point victory over Virginia Tech. So now the goal is 4-1. 3-0 at home. That's Miami, NC State, and Notre Dame. Those are 3 straight home games. You'll love that. And to go 1-1 on the road, winning at least at Virginia or at Duke. Again, we'll take winning games. I'm just saying that's at least what I want to see Carolina do. So you can take a big step in that direction by starting that off with winning at Virginia this week. I mean, that puts you in a very good position. Now, as far as ACC tournament seeding, that comes into all of this as well, because you recall yesterday I mentioned that Carolina has at worst locked up a day 1 bye in the ACC tournament. But let me say this as well. If Carolina does close 4-1, they are guaranteed a top 4 seed and a 2-day bye in the ACC tournament. And honestly, if you look at the math with me, even if you close 3-2, you are guaranteed a top 4 seed, literally no matter what anyone else does. Or how about this? Even if Carolina only goes 2-3 in the closing stretch, but one of those wins is NC State, they are guaranteed mathematically a top 4 ACC tournament seed. So Carolina has put themselves in great position with what they've already done. And now it's just time to keep stockpiling wins to get even better postseason position. And we can obviously look ahead what Carolina needs to do after that in the ACC tournament. But right now, it's just about getting into the ACC tournament in good position. Now, speaking of the ACC tournament, ready or not, things are going to look drastically different in the ACC next year with three new teams coming into the fold. And the ACC has already made the decision not to include three teams in next year's ACC tournament. Did they get it right? We'll answer that question in just a second. But first, I need to tell you this episode's brought to you by FanDuel. North Carolina, the wait is almost over. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is coming to the Tar Heel state. On March 11th, you'll finally be able to bet on all your favorite teams in all your favorite sports. With FanDuel, there's tons of ways for you to get in on the action. You can bet on everything from the money line to over-unders to which team will win this year's second Tobacco Road rivalry, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, with live betting, you can even pick which player will score the next bucket or the one after that. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Just go to fanduel.com/locked on so you can be the first to know when FanDuel goes live in North Carolina. That's fanduel.com/locked. Moment more with FanDuel. Last week, the ACC had their annual winter meetings held in Charlotte, and there's always lots of great tidbits coming out of this, but two main key things that came out of it that I want to talk about as we look ahead to the 2024-25 academic year, specifically some things related to basketball, both men's and women's. Let me read to you from the ACC's release on it. It reads, quote, in the sports of men's and women's basketball specifically, the membership determined that for the 2024-25 season, the top 15 teams would compete in the 2025 ACC women's and men's basketball tournaments. In addition to the decision on NCAA tournament play, the men's basketball regular season will continue with a 20-game conference slate, while the women will continue to play an 18-game campaign, end quote. So I want to take these in reverse order, starting with the regular season. Let's look at the men. There are now going to be 18 teams in the ACC, the 15 current teams, plus you add in SMU and Stanford and Cal. So that means for the men playing a 20-game schedule, you think about how it goes right now. There are 15 teams. You're one of those. So that means there are 14 other teams. That means you play all 14 teams at least once, and then 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 6 teams twice, home and home both. That is diminishing drastically as you add these teams. That means now there are 18 teams, there are 17 other teams. That means you play all of those once, and that there are then only 3 teams that you would play twice. That's it. Just three teams twice. This is a far cry from the good old days when there were only 9 ACC teams and you played all the other 8 twice, and that was just 16 total games, and you had even more space in your non-conference schedule to schedule whoever and whatever you needed and wanted to do. So this is tough, man. That, like, your ability to play teams twice is just gone. Now, I mean, I guess there's a world in which playing each team once, essentially, and then the next season, if I played Louisville at home this year, we're going to Louisville next year. If I played Virginia in Charlottesville this year, like Carolina's doing, I will only play them at home next year. So the question for me becomes, how are they going to determine who these 3 opponents are? Will it be the same 3 opponents every year that it's like, okay, every year Carolina plays teams X, Y, and Z twice? Will it be rotating? Will it be each year you play 3 different teams twice? Will it be somewhere in between that? Will it be every year Carolina plays Duke twice, as would make sense, and then the other 2 teams are rotating? Or another option, would it be Duke and NC State you play twice every year, and then the lone other team that you play twice rotates every year? Any and all of those are on the table. I don't love any of the options, but that's what we're faced with. So will you have protected home and home partners, or will it rotate? That's the big question I'm waiting to see an answer to. Or how about this? I'd like to propose to you at this point, half-brained Isaac Schade proposal. Go with me. I just talked about the good old days when there were 9 ACC teams and you played all of them twice. Well, half of 18 is 9 teams split into 2 divisions. What if you played all 8 teams in your subdivision of the ACC like football used to have, home and home, and then you get all of them 16 times? And then maybe if you wanted to keep it at 20 conference games, you played 4 games against teams in the other subdivision, maybe 2 home, 2 away. I'm just throwing out a proposal, right? Just, I don't think we have to be stuck in the scheduling model as it always is and always has been. Let's continue to think and dream differently about what could be better as things continue to blow up and get bigger. How do we get smaller even as things get bigger? Does that make sense? I'm just saying that seems to make a lot of sense to me. And then when you get to ACC tournament play, that's when the subdivisions play each other more. So it's just something to throw on the table that maybe we could consider. Now, as for the women, it's even weirder because they already play an 18-game schedule. It's sticking with that, as I said. So now you've got 17 other teams. You'll play all of them just once, and then you've got room for one other game where you play one team a second time. I mean, for Carolina, it only makes sense that that would be Duke. But will that home and home partner be protected, or will it be a revolving and rotating door each year? We don't know yet. But these are the things that we have to think about as we look ahead at this brand new scheduling model. So there's all of that. Now, the other thing, obviously, let's go back to the first thing that was said in the release, the ACC tournament. For both men and women, only 15 of the 18 teams will make it, which is the current format. For those of you watching this, I've already got this year's ACC tournament men's bracket on screen just to remind you and show you what that looks like. And so I guess in reality, the ACC tournament doesn't change in terms of number of teams, but if you're 16, 17, or 18, sorry about you, you're done after that last Saturday game. You don't get that last opportunity, as is the case now. So here's how the schedule for it works. Teams 10 through 15 play on Tuesday. 10 plays 15, 11, 14, and 12 and 13 play each other. And then on Wednesday, 5 through 9 spring into action. They have a 1-day bye, and then they get going. 8 and 9 play each other. And then teams 5, 6, and 7 play the 3 winners from Tuesday. And then on Thursday, teams 1 through 4 have had a double bye, and they spring into action. P.S. Just reading different websites, articles about this, CBS actually stated it slightly incorrectly. They said that teams 5 through 8 play on day 2 and teams 9 through 15 play on Tuesday. As you just heard me say, that's slightly wrong. Team 9 does get a bye and starts on the second day. So just keep that in mind. So here this tournament plan is. Did the ACC get it right with both of these things? But specifically, I want to address the ACC tournament. I laid out this summer, we had a show where I laid out, I think it was actually when it was still 17 teams before SMU was in, a proposal for what the ACC tournament could look like, keeping everyone in. I still think that would be a viable and best option to include everyone. But here's what this does ensure. There are fewer what I'll call bad loss opportunities for the teams in the tournament, particularly the bubble teams who are looking to make resume statement wins. But if teams 16, 17, and 18 are not in the tournament, you don't have to worry about taking a resume hurting loss in the ACC tournament. Now, team 15 is still not going to be great, but you get the point. So from that standpoint, I guess it is a good thing. I just like the model of including everyone, giving every team one last shot at making the NCAA tournament. Is team 16, 17, or 18 going to run the table and win the ACC and get the auto bid? Probably not. But I just like the opportunity that they might be able to do so. All right. Well, one of the other things we're looking at is the possibility of a new basketball arena or some renovations to the existing Dean Dome. What's going to happen there and what do I think should be best? I'm talking about a smaller capacity arena. That's probably not popular, but that's my proposal. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you that this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs, which has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just some other job board. They got a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, making it the best place to hire and giving you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. They do all of this while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring really is that easy when you have this many quality candidates available. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process more efficient, like launching a new feature that helps you write job descriptions, making it so much more doable for you and your team. 2.5 million small businesses rely on LinkedIn to help them hire. So post your job for free to join them at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Some news came out last week about North Carolina's basketball arena. I believe it was Inside Carolina that was first starting to talk about this idea of looking ahead to either renovations to the Dean E. Smith Center or potentially a brand new basketball arena. Now, look, the Dean Dome opened in 1986, state of the art facility, great, all the amenities, everything you want. That's a long time ago. 96, 06, 16. We're now in 24. So we're 2 years shy of the 40-year anniversary of the Dean Dome. And look, we've all heard the criticisms, whether it's the wine and cheese crowd or we know the problems associated with traffic flow, both people and concourses or actual cars driving to and from games. We know the issues with the most rabid fans, the students not having access to the most critical seating, like you see in some other arenas. Some of that is due to the seats that are reserved in perpetuity from the inaugural donors for the Smith Center. So there's a lot that's got to be figured out there. But we have learned that there are talks underway about apparently either renovating the Dean Dome or a new one. Greg Barnes wrote an article for Inside Carolina in which he reminds us about this, in which he reminds us of this. I'm going to quote Greg here. In the fall of 2013, an architecture firm provided UNC with concept renderings that included a renovated Smith Center, as well as a new on-campus arena adjacent to the current facility in the Bulls parking lot footprint. Those concepts included capacity reductions of 20 to 25% from the Smith Center's current 21,750 seat capacity to make room for luxury suites and premium seating. Those plans were put on hold during the NCAA investigation as UNC focused instead on an Olympic sport project that included new stadiums for soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey, and a new outdoor track and field complex, in addition to a new football practice complex. Now, look, here's the thing. I'm very glad that Carolina put those plans on hold. Yes, because of the investigation, but because the University of North Carolina truly and honestly values all of their varsity athletic sports, including the including the Olympic sports, which are not the revenue sports that like men's basketball and football are. So I love that Carolina went forward with those. But now those projects are complete and they're done. And that means let's refocus on a basketball arena to keep North Carolina at the upper echelon, at the elite in terms of facilities. Carolina basketball is a blue blood, and they should have facilities that reflect that. So here's where I think what I would love to see happen. Assuming that the land is doable, an unpopular take from me probably, but I'm in favor of a smaller seating capacity. If that's a new arena with smaller capacity, great. If that is renovations to the Smith Center that make it a smaller capacity, great. I don't care what it is, but I want to make it more exclusive. I want to make it so that this is a thing to do, that it's an event, that it's a ticket that's difficult to get and coveted. And I don't think it has to be some overwhelming like 50% reduction. But stay with me. Current capacity 21,750. A 25% reduction would cut it to 16,312. or even a 30% reduction would be 15 to 25. That to me feels about right. Still allows tons of fans to get in the door. Still allows for the opportunity for suites or private boxes or whatever it is that would also allow for Carolina to host other events in this building. That's what feels right to me. Now, I know some of you, there's going to be pushback. I already said this is unpopular to say, man, I love that everyone can get in that basically wants to when you got this many. But I like the idea of making it more difficult to get to. I want it to be a coveted thing that you can't find just willy-nilly last minute. And if we want to allow for more people, I love this opportunity, like the tip-off club that's been happening pre-game on home games. Let's keep that going and make it a whole experience, a whole event for people that don't get in or don't get a ticket. Show the game outside the arena, like what happened for the Duke game where people could just stay and watch. I love that idea. It's, I've talked about before, I'm a big Braves fan. I don't know if any of you have been to a Braves game, but the whole Braves battery that's outside the stadium is awesome. It's this whole event, this whole experience. There's green space. They show the game. You can just come and hang out and eat, experience the game, stay in a hotel, whatever it is, even if you're not attending the game. Like that all could be part of the game day experience so that even if you're not getting in, it's worth coming to Chapel Hill for. That would be awesome and incredible. There's a lot that would need to be done for traffic flow, for getting a new concourse, other things, but whatever it is, I would love to see it happen. Now, Greg Barnes also noted from a source, UNC Director of Athletics Bubba Cunningham has commissioned a working group to explore Smith Center renovation options in addition to considering the possibility of a new arena. This committee includes representation from both men's and women's basketball, the Board of Trustees, and the Rams Club, and that comes from a source familiar with the matter. So, despite my call for smaller max capacity, I'm just glad that we're studying all these various possibilities. Renovation, maybe a new arena. If a new arena, where? The possibility of men's and women's basketball sharing the arena, one venue, hosting other non-UNC events. What's important to me is that this vision casting is happening and that AD Cunningham, that Bubba is looking forward to the future. How do we stay incredibly relevant? You remember the ACC's inability to stay ahead of the curve is why the conference is in the weird place it is right now. So I'm super glad that Carolina as an institution or as an athletic department is doing that so that they avoid falling into those same traps. I don't know how this is going to turn out or what's going to happen, but I'm excited that the conversations are ongoing and I can't wait to see what it is. All right, really quickly, let's wrap up with a Tuesday trivia answer. Again, 4 Tar Heel freshmen have eclipsed 200 assists in their freshman season. Who are they? Let's take it from 4 all the way up to number 1. Number 4 on this list, Ty Lawson had 213 assists in 06-07. Number 3, Kendall Marshall. And it's all bunched together, these top 3, within 5 assists of each other. Kendall Marshall had 230 in the 2010-11 season. Number 2, Ed Cota, 234 in the 96-97 season. And number 1, who's your guess? Had one more than Ed Cota, and that's Ray Felton, had 235 in the 02-03 season. Who got it right? Would love to hear it. Let me know. Reach out. Would be awesome. All right, friends, that's it for today's episode of Locked On Tar Heels. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to keep talking the rest of the week as we prepare for the stretch run of the regular season and look ahead to Virginia on Saturday. If you're not subscribed to the show, please do so on video and audio. If you're not in on the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, man, would love to have you there. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. The link is in the show notes. It's free to join. We'd love to have you. Also, if you're watching, smash the like button so we know you were here. Got some ratings and reviews coming in this week. Thank you so much for doing that. It helped spread the news and the footprint of the show. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Great stuff always happening. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.